Boof! What's up, guys? Back again with another video. You saw last week we were learning how to use your phone to its fullest potential using raw and manual controls. Now today we are learning how to edit. I'm not going to go too deep into it because you can edit your photos however you want. It's just a matter of what you want out of it. Like, do you want to maybe turn day into night, or you want to do some basic tone adjustments? And today I'm actually going to edit one of the photos I shot last week, and I'm actually going to make it available to download in the description so you can follow along if you want. And I encourage you to edit it however you want, because the point of this exercise is just so you can get a feel and be comfortable of editing photos. And in today's tutorial, I'm going to be using Lightroom Mobile. I am not sponsored by Adobe or any other editing apps that I use in this tutorial. I think the only other app I'm going to be using is Lens Distortion. Again, they are not sponsoring me. I use Lightroom and Lens Distortion on my own. I paid for the app and the subscriptions to use it. I don't know which ones require subscription. I'm pretty sure it's just Lightroom. I think Lens Distortion's a one-time pay. Don't hold my word against that. Because I don't know, I've used them for a while and I don't know what they're doing now. So anyways, let's get started. And yeah, by the way, I'm in a garage. I can't use my bedroom because the wallpaper I'm not a fan of, and I'd like to make it into a studio one day, but right now I do not have the power to change the room the way I want it to. And some of that includes, like I said, tearing down the wallpaper and maybe replacing a few furniture, but that's no problem. But when the time comes, I'll definitely get to that. But if you're somebody who's looking to become a YouTuber, let this inspire you. I'm working with what I got. I do not have a fancy studio. I live at home and I share a basement with two younger brothers. So yeah, let that inspire you. And I'm going to keep going. So, let me pull out my phone. Okay, as you can see, this is one of the photos I took last week. And as you can see, it's underexposed. I didn't really pay attention to the exposure for the sake of the tutorial. And the point of shooting underexposed is to retain the highlights because it's easier to recover the shadows than the highlights. But yeah, we should be okay in this case. But yeah, let's get started. And again, I'm using Lightroom Mobile, but you should be able to use Snapseed or any other editing software, but Lightroom is what I use, and I use the full version on desktop as well. And I think you're only limited if you just download it for free from the App Store. I think you can only adjust tones and lighting. You can't use the brushes. So, I mean, I don't know. It's been a while. So, let's begin. And you get these options that come up. So I'm going to bring up the exposure just a little bit. See what that gets us. Bring up the shadows. And again, I'm just playing around. I really don't have a goal in mind. I'm just trying to see what I can do with this image. And bring up the blacks. And we can always adjust these later. Let's see. I think I want to bring up the blacks a little bit more. That looks okay. And I treat photo editing and video editing the same way. as far as coloring wise, I correct the photo first and then I give it a look. But in this case, this looks pretty okay to start with. Like, let's say if it's, for whatever reason, you had your camera like this, and the moment app, it should automatically do it, and it normally does a pretty good job. But let's say if it was way too cold or too blue, then you could warm it up a little. Or if you're north borders or 7th era, you do this and you call it good. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm sure they get that a lot. But yeah, let's restart that. Normally what you could do is bring up vibrance a little. Just a little. Get those colors to pop. I think that's okay. I normally add a little bit of saturation, or I take some away because, well, I can't think of it at the top of my mind, but I've never liked how saturation looks. Like if you go way up, yeah. I think it boosts the midtones. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I've never been a fan of using saturation. I normally add a little bit or I take some away. I only ever use vibrance. And yeah, I really don't have a goal for this. I'm just playing with sliders. I think right now, I'm gonna use the healing brush tool. And I'm gonna clean up those water spots. That's not oil or coolant or anything. I washed the car before I shot the photos, so that's just leftover, not just residual water. So I'm gonna clean that up. And you might have to play around with this. Alright, I'm gonna delete that one. Start over here and make my way left. Yeah, that looks pretty okay. It helps clean up the image a little bit. For the healing brush tool, it works exactly the same way as the patch tool in Photoshop. So, yeah, it's a great way to clean up. I personally prefer cleaning images up in Photoshop rather than Lightroom because, well, one, it's on a desktop and I'm more comfortable editing on a desktop, and the tools are better in Photoshop. They're more refined for specific purposes. But yeah, I think the next thing, which I should have done in the first place, is crop it. And again, bringing rule of thirds into this equation, I like to keep it in the middle, like even out the negative space. And in fact, let's actually make it smaller. But yeah, and thanks to Adobe's latest update for the mask, you can hit, hold on. I'm still not used to this, but if you hit select subject, it normally does a pretty good job. But yeah, let that load. And as you can see, it's not perfect, but doesn't do too bad of a job. So in this case, we're going to hit minus and subtract. We're going to select brush and focus only on the car. But yeah, the more time you put into this, the better your result. But just for the sake of this, I think it helps illustrate my point. But yeah, with the mask tool, you have more, it's specifies the effects onto the masked area. So you can bring up sharpness, do this to your taste. I guess bring up dehaze a little bit. That don't look too bad. And at this point, I'll take some saturation out, get some of that blue color cast off the side a little bit, because it's a silver car. you want the car to look its natural color. And yeah. Actually, clarity looks a little too strong. A little too strong. Okay, so I had to re-record the screen recordings because while editing this video, they just did not want to cooperate. Okay, so back to where we were. So basically, I put a gradient filter on the top and the bottom of the image to draw your eyes towards the car. And yeah, I dropped the exposure down to pretty much create a vignette effect. And then I took a radial filter and I increased the exposure to obviously bring more attention to the center of the photo. And then I went under effects and I increased the luminance noise reduction because bringing up the exposure introduced some noise. And then I countered that by increasing grain because grain is better to look at than noise. Just a little bit. And then I took another radial mask and I put it over the headlight, and since my car has a projector housing, it's going to be a lot easier to do this. If you have more of a reflector housing, you got to pretty much experiment and make it look as realistic as you can. But yeah, basically I just white out the mask. And decrease the contrast a little bit. And then on the other side, I pretty much did the same exact thing. The only difference is I added a little bit of contrast to pretty much, in my mind, I thought it would make it more realistic being behind the glass, but I don't know. There's really not much you can do about it. But once we put the flare overlays on, it's not really going to matter. But yeah, that's it as far as Lightroom goes. Okay, so now we're in lens distortion right now. I didn't get a chance to go through it on the recording, so I just went straight to the light hits, which will be the lens flare overlay. And obviously you just place it over, align it as best you can, and then you pretty much do the same thing on the other side, except make it slightly smaller because it's further away from the camera. And then at this point, I'm just adjusting the settings to what looks like the... Oh no, sorry. I'm masking out the grill because because part of the grill is right in front of the light and it's not gonna go through the grill. So obviously you want it to make it look like it's blocking the light. And then you adjust, and then from there you just adjust the softness, brightness, and look at as realistic as possible. Alright guys, the camera cut out, so you wouldn't have been able to hear my voice explaining this. So yeah, I basically left off where I was masking out the part of the grill, like part of the bumper that would sorta deflect the light and make it look more realistic. It's not perfect, but the more time you put into your edits, the better the outcome. But for the sake of the tutorial, I think I'm gonna end it right here. I hope this gives you a good understanding of what you can do. And there's plenty of tutorials out there for specific looks you want to go for. So yeah, go ahead and explore, and also, like, most importantly, experiment. And yeah, the more stuff you edit, the closer you are to find your style. So yeah, I hope you have fun with it. All right, as far as editing goes, that's going to be it for today. So yeah, there's plenty of ways to edit a photo. There's no right or wrong way. But yeah, I want you to take what you learned from this video, and I want you to tag me in your photo at magusta.media and use the hashtag MagustaPics. And yeah, I would love to see what you guys come up with. And also, if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, turn on bell notifications, that way you know when I upload another video. And yeah, leave a like and comment if you want. Tell me how your day is going. I hope it's going good. And comment what you're gonna have for Thanksgiving tomorrow. Like, is there any special dish that your family makes, or what you make? Let me know. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.